Folks, there is almost a 0% chance that these condos sell. I'll explain that and then get into the latest home prices and insights for condos across the GTA for week ending January 29th, 2025. I get lots of phone calls. I speak with lots of people who purchased pre-construction and they want to sell before closing. It's basically called selling on assignment. You're going to be assigning your purchase agreement to somebody else, another buyer other than yourself. So you don't need to close, and it's that new buyer that will close. The buyer that buys your agreement is the one that'll close with the builder. People do this for different reasons. Some people bought years ago the pre-construction, and their whole strategy was actually to sell on assignment before closing, and others never had that strategy, but due to economic situation that we're in, or the situation financially they find themselves, they're actually not able to close or no longer qualified to get a mortgage, so they're kind of forced to sell on assignment. And that's kind of the solution they come up with, that no problem. If I can't close, no problem. I will sell on assignment. Well, I'm telling you, it is a problem. It's not a real solution for most people. For some, for the lucky few, for some though, for most, it's not a solution. Resale, selling resale already has its obstacles. We're talking about the condo market here, the volume of condos for sale. Very few, a small percentage of condos sell every single week. In the assignment market, that percentage is much, much lower that actually sell. You see, you've got to read your purchase agreement. In most cases, you're not allowed to actually advertise your assignment publicly. You can let family and friends know, and through word of mouth, you could let people know, and you could speak to your realtor, and if the realtor knows somebody that is interested in buying it, there's a potential for success there. But that's where it stops. In most cases, and you got to read the individual contract, but in most cases, the builder will allow you to sell it on assignment, but will not allow you to publicly advertise it. What does that mean? Well, you can't put it on the MLS system. You can't promote it through social media. You can't just, plaster the world with flyers saying you have this assignment. You're not allowed to do that. And if you do that, you could be found in breach of the agreement and lose your deposit, and it just bad things happen from there. So selling on assignment is not easy. And if you're allowed, again, read your agreement. There may be a hefty fee associated with that. So the builder may say, yeah, sure, you're allowed. There's a $20,000, $50,000 fee to sell on assignment. Sometimes it's as little as 5 or 10, but sometimes it's much higher. What I'm getting at is it's not easy. It's not a simple thing to do. It may not be the solution you think you have. It's not a valid solution in many cases. A few weeks ago, I was speaking with somebody that sold on assignment. They put it on the MLS. They sold it. They made a profit. And then the builder approached them and said, hey, you're in breach of our agreement. You weren't supposed to advertise it on MLS. And they said, either we find you in breach or you give us X amount of money. And it was thousands and thousands of dollars. It was all the profit that they made on this thing. So even if you're successful, if you don't do it the right way, if you think you're taking a chance by putting it on the MLS, the consequences can be very severe. So if that's your plan, your solution, have a backup plan, because the people that actually succeed selling on assignment, few and far between. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video, there's a link to my calendar in the description below. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. We're going to be talking about condos across the GTA. At the end of this video, there'll be 2 links up on the screen for 2 1-bedroom, 1-den condos for sale. Have a look. Here we go. So we're going to talk about condo. These are condo apartments only. We're going to be focused on condos in Toronto. That's for the city of Toronto. Condos across York region. Condos across Peel region. Overall, 1 week to the next, for week ending January 29th, average sold price went up across the board. Let's start off with the city of Toronto. For week ending January 29th, 162 condo apartments were sold. 19 of those were at $1 million or more. So sales are increasing. Not a surprise as we head out of, well, we've headed out of now for a few weeks, out of the holiday season. And as we head towards the spring market, it's somewhere up there ahead somewhere. Well, we do expect sales to be increasing as we move along at the beginning of the year here. The amount selling at $1 million or more is also up. Average sold price sitting at $715,000. Now, I drew 2 lines here. The low line is $670,000. The top one is $720,000. And for a good part of at least all of the fall market, average sold price has really kind of been between $670,000 and $720,000. There's not a big spread there, but that's kind of where average sold price has been bouncing around for the whole fall market, which is where we are now. Compared to last year, $715,000 is 5% higher than the same week a year ago. The median price is 1% lower. Median price is $612,000. Of the 162 that sold, a quarter of those, 25%, sold at list price or more. Listings, we would expect actually listings to be increasing as we move along out of January into February. But listings actually for the last couple of weeks have declined. So 611 were listed for week ending January 29th. Active listings was climbing, but for this week, it's come down a bit. Months of inventory has been trending down. We're now at 5.5 months of inventory. So we're at the bottom end of a buyer's market. That's the whole city. If we break the city of Toronto down into 9 different sections, well, let's look at this for a second. I've got a few notes that I put on here. So if we look at downtown, downtown is the lion's share of active listings. We normally expect downtown to have the lion's share of the sales. But when we look at active listings as a percentage of the total sales, it should make sense, right? So if one area has, say, 20% of all active listings, you kind of would expect that it would have 20% of the sales also. Doesn't quite work out that way. So downtown has 38%. Think about that. 38% of all condos available for sale you could find in the downtown core. But the downtown only represent 23% of all sales. 38% of all properties are downtown, but only 23% of actually sales come from downtown. If we look at Etobicoke, has 11% of active listings that are out there, but it has 14% of all sales, 11% versus 14. Let's look at Uptown, 13% of all active listings, 15% of all sales. Scarborough, 11% of all active listings, 15% of all sales. So some areas outperform other areas. Not a surprise, right? Knowing which areas, though, I think are is part of the information process. York region, 20 condo apartments were sold. I put a question mark because we would expect sales to be increasing at this time. They're actually going down in York region. So 20 condo apartments were sold. 2 of those were at $1 million or more. Average sold price did climb. It's now sitting at $694,000. $694 is 2% higher than where we were this time a year ago. The median price is 7% lower. Median price is $636,000. Sales. If we kind of look at sales, let's just say for November, I got 3 months on the board here. For a good part of last year, or at least the ending of last year, sales were outperforming sales a year ago. The orange, that's the current. The blue, that's the same time a year ago. This year, though, sales, fewer sales than what we were selling this time a year ago. So 20 were sold, 20% of those sold at list price or more. Listings starting to trend down. Active listings were climbing. This 1 week, they're down a little bit. Months of inventory jumped way up to 7.5 months of inventory. That's York region. Let's look at Peel region. 21 condo apartments were sold, so those sales are also coming down. 1 of those was at $1 million or more. Average sold price jumped up a bit from where it was sitting for a while around 550, 560. There's a few weeks there that. This week it jumped up to 590, excuse me, to 599. 599 is 4% higher year over year. The median price is 4% lower. Median price is $555,000. Of the 21 that sold, 19% sold at list price or more, and we are selling at this time of the year, we're selling fewer this year than we did a year ago. Listings, fewer listings coming down. They jumped up and now they're starting to come down. Active listings, same thing. They were increasing and now fewer, and months of inventory has been climbing. We're now at 8.1 months of inventory. Pretty solid buyer's market. Here's a quick summary of months of inventory. Look, City of Toronto overall at 5.5 months of inventory is sitting at just the bottom end of a buyer's market, just the other side of a balanced market. But York region and Peel region, predominantly a buyer's market by a lot, not just by a little bit. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. Now check out these 2 condos we got listed. The links are behind me.